Going to be replacing the upper control arms, compression rods. I replaced the control arm bushings and the outer tie rods. For the lower control arms, if you're going to be replacing your bushings, I went with whiteline for the front lower shock absorber bushing, I believe what it's called, just because the energy suspension was out. Because they actually sell all this bushing, and this bushing for as a kit, but this one was out of stock, so it was taking forever to get here, so I just swapped it out with a white line. These bushings, you're going to need a 29 millimeter to get these ones out. It's the perfect size. For the back ones, you're going to need 32, I believe. And then for these ones, you're going to have to, if you have a pipe size, or you can get a 1 11/16 socket. I got this off Amazon, worked great. 29 millimeter, you can get that at your AutoZone. And then for the upper control arms, I'm going with DriftWorks. They look to be in pretty good. The welds on it. They have the camber adjustment too right here, where you can adjust the camber off the car. I was thinking about going with Z1's cheaper option, but you have to take them off the car in order to adjust the camber on them. And the ISR ones were the next ones in line, but they don't have a serviceable ball joint in the front right here. So I went with DriftWorks because they're about the same price as ISR, but you get the same quality as Z1's forged upper control arms. So, and you can adjust the camber while the control arm's on the car. And then over here, the compression rods, they're not serviceable for the ball joints. So you have to replace the whole rod if you're going to service them. If you want to do the ball joints, if you have failed ball joints on your compression rod. So I just went ahead and went with Mevotech, the Supreme Plus. Got a new one, pressed out that ball joint, or pressed out that bushing, replaced it with the energy suspension, and then outer tie rods with the special, just some Mevotech. So I'm over here on the passenger side of the 350. I'm gonna work on taking my upper control arm off and my compression rod and my outer tie rod. I already got my lower control arm off because I had to replace the bushings. So for now, I'm gonna work on getting this upper control arm off, and you're gonna have one bolt there and one bolt there, and they are 14 millimeters, and this is a 14 mil as well. There's also a cotter pin here. I already went ahead and took it out. So yeah, once I get that out, I'll be right back. So I lied. This bolt's actually a 17, not a 14. And also the DriftWorks doesn't come with any instructions on which side is which. So all I did was, when you take off the control arm that you're doing, it's like a wishbone. You can see one side's longer than the other. So just match that up with your long side of your one and your short one. And then also I'm going to line up all the bushings with this, where the stock bushing locations are. And then that way I can have like a pretty simple alignment for now, until I take the car to go get an official alignment and get my alignment dialed in. And then also, when you're taking these bolts out right here, your spring will be in the way. So, take you guys right here. So if you look right here, you're not gonna be able to get your spring or your bolt out because your spring. So if you're on coilovers, I don't know if you can do this with stock struts, but you can, once the load is off the car, you can spin your spring, so that way you can get your bolt out and back in whenever you're doing it. All right, now that I got the control arms on, I just have everything on loose for now, just until I get everything on. Now I'm gonna start working on the compression rods. And to get those off, you're gonna wanna get under the car. And you're gonna wanna remove this plastic shroud right here. It's 4 10 millimeter bolts on each corner. And then after you get that off, you wanna take your subframe off. And that's what I'm gonna get to work on doing now. So once you're under your car, you get the plastic shroud off. It's actually 5. There's one bolt right here. You're gonna have 14, 14, 14, 14, I believe 12, and then the ones here compression rod are 19. These are unibody bolts, so be sure to be careful and not strip them, especially northern cars, because you guys live where rust is everywhere. So be sure to be careful when taking these out. All right, I got the compression rod off. I'm gonna sit here and hit this with a wire brush. As you can see, mine was kind of on there, not really. I took a couple hits with a mallet and I got it off. But this has been a Florida and a Georgia car its whole life, with only 114,000 miles on it. So you can see the corrosion that's built up on it here. So I can't imagine a northern car with higher mileage. So just hit this with a wire brush, kind of get rid of the corrosion on the threads before you install your new one. Also, I lied. The bolt that goes here, they're all 14 mils, so no number 12. This one is a 19. It holds on your compression rod. All the other ones are 14 mils. All right, I got the subframe back on. The compression rod bolts, they're 114 foot-pounds, and then all your 14 mils are 46 foot-pounds, and then your ball joint is going to be 62. I haven't torqued that one down yet, but I went ahead and torqued down all the other bolts that connect to the unibody. Like I said, make sure that you don't cross thread them, put them in properly, because these are the unibody bolts, so you do not want to cross thread one of those. So next I'm going to work on putting my control arms on, and then move on to the tie rods. And once I get those installed, I'll be back. Coming at you on a new day. Today I've got my control arm installed on the passenger side. This is what it's going to look like with the new bushings. Got my ball joint in. Haven't torqued everything down yet. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to torque everything down once I have all the arms and tie rods installed. And then also I'm not going to install my end link yet, because I will be getting a Z1 sway bar today, picking up this afternoon. So I got the control arm on the passenger side. I got the new compression rod in with the new bushings as well on the passenger side. Got my new upper control arms installed on the passenger side. Now I'm gonna get started working on the tie rod as well. And also for the compression rods, be ready to do both sides at one time, because you have to take the subframe brace off, because it's connected to it right there, and over there on the passenger side. So you're going to want to do those at the same time, so that way you can put your subframe brace back on. But yeah, I'm going to work on getting this tie rod off, and then I'll be right back. All right, I got the tie rod in. So the passenger side is pretty much complete, with the upper control arms, new compression rods, new bushings in the control arms, and new outer tie rods. All I gotta do is go through, put all the cotter pins back in for the bolts that use cotter pins, which you'll probably want to buy new cotter pins for your ball joints, because you have to take those out. Your compression rod comes with a cotter pin, your tie rod comes with a cotter pin, and your upper control arm will come with a cotter pin. So be sure to torque all these to spec and then put your cotter pins in. So I'm gonna do the driver side next, and then once I have the driver side complete, I'm gonna go through and torque everything to spec and then put all the cotter pins in. And once I get my sway bar in, put the sway bar in, drop the car and go get it for an alignment. So once I have the driver side complete, I'll go over all the torque specs on everything. Alright, so I was trying to get my driver's side upper control arm off, and when I went to zip off the nut, the ball joint inside started spinning. So a good way to help you is you want to wedge a wrench. I had a 19 and a 3/4 wrench, shoved it right here between this taper and the ball joint. Use my jack to jack up the wheel hub, put some tension on it, and put it in there, and then I was able to zip off the bolt. So that might help you if you start spinning. It was a pain in the butt, but now I'm gonna focus on removing the whole control arm and then getting the new one in. Now when you're setting up your new upper control arms, you kind of want to get everything about the same size as your OEM was, and also you can tell this is the correct side because you have the long arm with the long side and then a short arm with the short side. And then you pretty much just want to, with this front one here, kind of want to split the difference, bring it out from the back and then also bring it out from where the joint is, to try to get it right there. And then for the back ones, you're going to unlock this nut right here. You'll hold on here and you'll twist the back and it'll move it out. And you just want to get them roughly lined up so you have somewhat of an alignment. So if you have to drive your car to the alignment shop, which most of us do, it's not gonna be too terrible to drive. So that's how to set up your upper control arm for your new one that's completely adjustable. And yeah, I'm gonna work on getting this on the car, and then I'll be back once I have it on the car. All right, I got the new upper control arm on. I jacked up the whole knuckle to kind of help being able to tighten it in. For DriftWorks, the nut for the ball joint that goes to your knuckle is 24 millimeters, and then you're going to reuse your OEM bolts in the back here. These are 14. You're going to torque these to, I think, 46, 48 to 55 foot-pounds, and then this front one here, you're going to torque 40 to 46 foot-pounds. So I'm going to torque those ones down, and then once I get it torqued down, put your little cotter pin in, and then bend it up, and you have installed your new upper control arm. All right, now that I got the upper control arm all the way torqued, now I'm going to work on torquing the lower control arm. Your inner bushing right here is going to be 96. Your in link right here is going to be 65. Your shock mount bushing is going to be 57, and your ball joint right there is going to be 65 as well. So a thing to note too, whenever you're installing upper control arms, and I don't think it's just these aftermarket ones, but I think multiple aftermarket ones will hit these bolts right here, and it's actually this one and that one right there. They stick out a little far, so whenever the car is under load, it actually touches these control arms. So what you can do is those bolts hold the bracket for your power steering reservoir, and just put like a couple washers on there just to back the bolt up some. It just literally holds on your power steering reservoir. So yeah, just put a couple washers on there, and then it will give you just enough clearance to where it doesn't touch the control arm at all whenever the car is under load. So that's going to wrap up the front suspension overhaul on my 2007 Nissan 350Z. Right here I have laid out all the tools that I used to replace everything and reinstall everything. Here's the sockets. One you might not need is this 24 mil, just because DriftWorks used a 24 millimeter nut. I believe other upper control arms use a different size nut, so just make sure you figure out what size they use to know what size socket you're going to need. I also have a 22 because the ball joints are 22 millimeter for taking your control arm off. Majority of stuff is 19 millimeter. I have a random 18mm in there because one of my tie rods that I got, the nut on it was an 18mm. So then you have 17mm, which is a lot of everything, 14mm, which is a lot of everything, and then 10mm if you're taking off your under shroud. Make sure you have a set of wrenches as well in those sizes. It helps out a lot, especially in tight spaces where you can't really get your wrench if your wrench has too fat of a head, which both of mine do. So make sure you have some wrenches on hand. Also, I had a adjustable crescent wrench just because some of the nuts, like on the adjustable control arm, upper control arm, and the tie rods, I didn't have a big enough wrench for that, so I had to use this adjustable wrench, which worked just fine. So if you don't have a big enough wrench, just make sure you have an adjustable one that you can use. Hammer, knock out the tie rod. I assume if you're watching this video, then you're probably going to be replacing your tie rod, so just make your life easy. Get a hammer, bang on the threads. It doesn't matter if you mess them up or not. You're going to get new bolts and cotter pins anyways. So, and then also you'll need a torque wrench. This one's 80 foot-pounds, so that's why I have this one, and then this one goes up to 250. This one is a 1/2 inch, and it's hard to get in small places, so that's why I have this little one for all the ones that are 50, 60, 40 foot-pounds. And then the one that was 90, I had to break out this one just because this one only goes to 80. So that's pretty much everything that you're going to need to do what I just did. So yeah, and I did mention about getting sway bars earlier on in the video, but I did get the front sway bar, just don't have the bushings for it. So once I get that in, I'll make a video on how to install that as well, because I'm probably going to get new end links as well to go with that. So once I get the bushings in for the sway bar and the end links in, I'll do a video on that. And then I also have these on standby too. These are the traction arms for the rear. I already have the camber and toe arms for the rear, so this is the last suspension mod that I'm missing in the rear to finish up all my arms. I know there's a rear upper control arm on the car as well, but I might look into doing that, might not. I'll have to see what the benefits are and everything, but for sure next video I'll be installing the Z1 sway bar with the probably just Z1 end links. Just go ahead and Z1 everything. It's pretty middle ground price for what it is. And I don't track the car hard. It's just mainly street driven and mountain runs. So, but that's gonna be the video. Don't know if I ever showed you guys my 350Z, but here it is on jack stands currently. If you want a video of me going over everything that's been done to the car, let me know, and I'll be sure to provide that for you as well, so you can know everything that's done to this slow thing. But that's going to do it for the suspension video. Leave any comments below for any tips or tricks and anything else that you would like to see. See you next time.